Richard Sherman arrested in jail right now, denied bail, although that's a technicality in Washington. We got to pick you up to date. Basically, this broke this morning around 8 o'clock, and there's been a lot of information that's come out since then. So Sybilla has a law background, which you could explain after we go through the details. I don't know. I'm curious to hear what Sybilla has to say, but here are the details that we know. So around 1 o'clock a.m. today, Richard Sherman allegedly, I'm going to use that word a lot, allegedly hit a barrier on an off-ramp in the Seattle area and really messed up a car that was registered to him. And allegedly, instead of, I don't know, calling the cops or whatever, he parked the car and ditched it and ran away. And then apparently went to a relative's house. We don't know which one. And it was late at night. And he apparently tried to force his way in. And I don't know what happened. They haven't said anything other than that, other than the police came and he resisted arrest, allegedly. And they arrested him and they took his blood because they thought that he might have been inebriated. And he's in jail now because in Washington State, if there's a domestic violence, he's not even charged yet. I don't know. If there's domestic violence involved, you have to stay in jail until a judge can see the case. So his wife said that he did not hurt anyone, hit anyone. And it seems like maybe calling it domestic violence is because perhaps he did something threatening in a home. Burglary because it wasn't his home. But it seems like what he most likely did do was wreck his car, ditch the car, try to force his way into a house and resist arrest, allegedly. What do you think of what we've also they put him on a protective order? You could be able to explain that better than me.
Yeah, so let's start from the top. Let's go back to the traffic incident that was reported. It was reported as a hit and run. And the reason it's most likely reported as a hit and run is because he damaged public property and did not report it. And the fact that it came out afterwards pretty much circumstantially says to me that, yes, that's exactly what happened, is that something led to him hitting the barrier. We don't know what, but he didn't report it.
Okay.
And it might seem a little innocent at the time, you know, like you had a bad day driving, you run off the road, you hit some public property, and you're just happy to be alive. You have to report it.
Yes.
If you don't and you get caught, then that's a hit and run. So it's not to imply he hit someone, but rather that he hit public property. Fast forward, although these two incidents were not originally related, we have something that is burglary, domestic violence. This sounds kind of like you're breaking and entering and bashing somebody or doing some, you know, domestic assault, domestic violence or something, but most of the time it's not. By the letter of the law, it's basically entering a car or a home in which you are barred entry, you are not welcome, or you can actually be there, welcome, and then asked to leave. That's important. I don't know which one it is. Obviously, we will have to wait. It seems like it might be the first interpretation, but it could be the second.
It's just important to know that this is the threshold of the definition of the law. It doesn't mean that he hit anyone and his wife said he didn't. It's possible that just trying to enter this house that wasn't him got him these, I don't even know if he's been charged yet, booked on these counts.
It's INV, which means investigating.
There you go. There you go. Nothing has been charged yet.
Booked him, and we're going to get to something else which does not shed a positive light on this. And that's basically it's a public restraining order where they are denying him access to purchasing or owning firearms as a result of him being suspected of doing that harm to himself or others.
Yes.
So these kinds of restraining orders are either filed by the victim, if you will, the alleged victim, not the respondent, and then also perhaps by the police department. So it can be one of those two. So either the police are looking at this and they have decided that he is a danger to himself or others, so they're asking him to turn in his firearms, surrender them, or be in contact with no firearms. This one's interesting to me because it means that they are saying that he is a high-risk case. And when they say that, it's not a flight risk. It's a self-harm or a harm to others risk. And to me, that's very interesting.
Certainly. We don't know. We can't speculate whether that's the case or if he's a harm to himself or harm to others. But it seems just the series of events that happened would indicate someone that might be at harm to himself.
Well, here's the thing. Who hits a barrier and follows through with a precarious, let's call it a precarious situation, because it really can be, you know, you think you're welcome there, you're asked to leave, your emotions are running high, he just hit a barrier. So I don't think he's in his rightest mind. I think it's a bad night for him. But they are looking at the sequence of events, I think, and it's because he hit the barrier, hit and run, and still followed through on what is at least being investigated as a crime. And this proves, if it is true he committed this crime by the letter of the law and in the intent, then it proves a certain level of premeditation, which led to them filing this restraining order against him.
Or there's another thing that could have happened was, allegedly, suppose he's driving inebriated and he hits the thing and he knows if he calls the cops, he's going to get a DUI. So he makes a terrible decision and hides the car, runs away, tries to go to a relative's house and says, you got to hide me? I don't know.
And he might have been, if that was the case, then again, it's all speculation. But if that was the case, then perhaps he was already agitated when he got there and they were like, hey, I don't want to deal with this, get out. And he said no. You know, there's so many scenarios, but the bottom line is, as far as, unfortunately, the legal side of things, there is a sequence of events which has led to him having to surrender his firearms and be in contact with none of them.
The most alarming part of this story, I think, so far, is the fact that he fought police. That's, I'm glad he is okay.
That was the letter, and I'm surprised there are not additional charges. It's either so bad that they have not yet gone through exactly, because here's the thing, the police that were responding, I'm going to say this for the record, I don't believe cops should be allowed to charge because they're not lawyers. They have no clue what the letter of the law means. They are just enforcers. But unfortunately for Mr. Sherman here, the people who responded are the ones that are going to determine which laws he broke, and they will charge him. Now, whether those charges stick, that's up to the DA. It's up to, you know, any deals that the defense makes with the prosecution, regardless. But here's the thing. They listed it as fighting with police officers. That's not good.
Yeah.
I don't know if that means he was resisting arrest or if it means he threw a punch, but I'm surprised that at this time, I think they're handling it perhaps carefully. I hope it doesn't lead to more. I will say for the record, I've always been a Richard Sherman fan. This is heartbreaking to see. Yeah. He's done wrong. He has to fess up to it. But at the same time, it's not a good day for the NFL.
We're getting more interpretations in the chat. Jay Novel says maybe it's possible a relative crashed his car and Richard Sherman went over to the relative's house in anger because the relative got him in trouble. Maybe.
Right now, Raymond Martinez theory is as good as the next. You know, and everything. The vehicle. Correct me if I'm wrong, Grant. It was registered to him.
Registered to him, yes. So I don't know. It's possible that he had given
I don't
it
let
to a
anyone
relative.
ride
I don't
my
know.
motorcycle. I'll tell you that.
Yeah. Raymond Martinez Jr. says the fact that his family called the cops means there's much more to this story than we know. Yeah, that's not a good sign.
No, it's not a good sign, but the position his wife has taken publicly is. As far as I was wondering if it was fully domestic, like marital or something like that. Because honestly, what would drive a man of such means and such reputation, who has a charity, a public life of philanthropy, who is a Pro Bowler, an All-Pro, a Super Bowl winner, what would drive him to do that? And I'm glad to hear it doesn't involve his wife and children. I'm going to say that for the record. That's why I think Grant's right. I think it's a relative.
Right. And, you know, she did make a statement we mentioned earlier. She said this is, first of all, she said, I want to say he didn't hurt anyone. Second, I want to say this is definitely out of character for him. So whatever he did alarmed her, and she's upset because, one, he's in trouble, and two, it's not the Richard Sherman she knew, or that's what she's saying. So it seems like the fact that he's being put on protective order, the fact that he resisted arrest, those two things would indicate that he's definitely in a very difficult, in a tough spot right now. And you wonder, does it have to do with the fact that his career is coming to an end? What is going on with Richard Sherman? Well, I mean, we have no idea, but just seems like he's if this is all true, he could be very unstable right now, and maybe he should be under a protective order. I don't know. Who knows? Anyway,
I think it's the best thing for him is when something like this gets leveled against him, the cooperation is only going to help him. And I mean, it is for his protection, but they typically do this because they make a determination that he needs it.
Yeah.
This is not something that if you and I had a DUI and we tussled with a police officer during the arrest, it's not something like that. That's not what ERPOs are handed out for. It's for legitimate concern for the defendants, the future defendants, the suspect's safety or the safety of his immediate family or vicinity of people.
Yeah. Well, I think it's important.
This could be suicide watch, literally, or it could also be for the protection of his family. And I will tell you this, again, for a man of his position, means, and accolades, to do this it is out of character, but it's disturbing. He could go so far out of character if it is true.
True. And
that's where the ERPO comes into effect. It does not help his case, by the way.
No, but I think if it's true that he didn't hit anyone or try to hurt anyone, if that's true, then he goes from being, I mean, if he hit his wife, he's a monster. But if this is like technicality and really he was more engaging in extremely self-destructive behavior, then this goes to being more of a sad story. It'll be interesting. I guess we're going to learn more soon. But either way, it's a terrible story.
I have a gut feeling it's definitely the latter, as far as it's a day in hell for him. It's out of character. I don't think he involved his wife in kids. I would have to say, I mean, some substance would have had to be involved. If you look at his Instagram, I mean, you've seen him interviewed. You've been in the room with him before. This guy really cares about his children and about his wife. I mean, the reason that he's not taking contracts on certain themes is because it's a wife's decision. I mean, you've mentioned
it before. He lives up in Seattle because she's from there, I believe.
Exactly, and it's like you mentioned it before when somebody said, why doesn't he go play for the Jets? And you said on that show, you're like, I don't know if he can sell that to his wife.
It's true. Yeah.
So
well,
I
hope she's right that he didn't do anything to her, and this is really more of like an Alden Smith type of story. This is when it happened. When I'm hearing the details, I'm thinking, man, this sounds like 23-year-old Alden Smith's life spiraling out of control. But this is 33-year-old Richard Sherman, who's never done anything like this before. And to me, I think this is like the 3 or 4 different things he did in one night that would, potentially ruin his life. It's unreal. Anyway, I hope
it's not a feel-good story. It's not a feel. It's terrible. No one has been harmed. Right. I really hope I hope if he is innocent. I hope if he just did something stupid like hit the barrier, I hope he can put this behind him. I hope he can go back to playing football if that is the case. I am a proponent of justice, but at the same time, as long as he harmed no one but himself, I hope he can put this behind him.
Yeah, because it just does seem like the way that the police presented this was, man, this guy is a monster. He did X, Y, Z. These are the charges we want to charge him with, and it's like, well,
yeah, maybe. And I take that with a grain of salt. I mean, obviously I'm a veteran and everything like that, but I don't agree with police and the way they present things sometimes. I mean, we'll see what they say. They said INV on the report. It means investigating. Yeah. So let's see what they say.
Yeah, let's not condemn him yet. As Sybilla pointed out, there's like a low threshold that he could technically meet in terms of the definition of what he did, but it doesn't necessarily mean.
Just to summarize, if I'm here with Grant and we're the same same home, and he says, Sybilla, get out, and I say to him, no, I'm not done giving you a piece of my mind, and he calls the police, that falls under this crime. That
could be burglary, domestic violence.
Right, but they said that he tried to get in, so we know that, but it also falls under me refusing to get out.
Sure. Either way. But what they say is that he basically tried to get in and was refusing.
Pushing the door open, by the way, if like the guy who said that maybe it's a relative who crashed his car, under such circumstances, if he pushed the door in and said, no, don't you walk away from me, and they called the cops, this also meets with the constituents.
So we'll see if these charges stick. We'll learn more soon, but I think it's time to turn the page for on Richard Sherman for now. It seems very unlikely he's ever going to play for the 49ers again. Who knows about his career?